Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We're so delighted and honored that you're joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcast. We have 3 amazing guests for you today. A little bit later on, we'll be meeting LaWall and Rich Greco. They're celebrating this little piggy went to the market in the city. But first, we go out to Michigan to meet our first guest, Lauretha Ward. She is here to celebrate Wipe The Slate Clean. Hey, Lauretha, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you this morning?
Oh, I am wonderful, and I can't wait for you to tell us all about Wipe the Slate Clean.
So, Wipe the Slate Clean is a book about bullying. The story centers around a little 8-year-old boy called Nestor the Pester, and that's exactly what he is. He's a bully. He's always looking to pick on kids, throw sand on them, take their homework, punching them, whatever he can do to make other kids' lives miserable. And so Nestor happens to be in his classroom one day, and the teacher pulls out a book, and she begins to tell a story. So there's a story being told within the story. Mm-hmm. And the teacher is talking about a little boy named Wester the Pester. So he's also a pest. Well, he's actually just Wester, but he's a pest. And so he's picking on kids, and one in particular named Jiminy. And it got to the point where Jiminy was really hurt by the shenanigans of Wester, and he ends up changing schools. And so it went on to show how bad Wester felt in the end. And so the teacher ends the story and looks at Nestor, and Nestor has this bright aha moment in which he literally sees himself that was being told in the story by the teacher. And he begins to have remorse and regrets. He goes home from school on the school bus. He's thinking about all the things he's done wrong to hurt others. And he goes to sleep that night and gets on, actually before going to sleep, he gets on his knees. He's praying. It's like, I've done so many bad things. What can I do for it to be a change? Can I change my ways? And so he has these thought bubbles because everything begins with a thought, and he sees himself wanting to change and wanting to be kind, but doesn't know how to do that. And so the next day he goes to school and he talks with his teacher, and he wants to do things differently. We know that things start with a thought. And so his thought is that I really want to change my ways and to be kind to others. And the teacher goes on a journey with him, and he starts to ask for forgiveness. He is at first trying to make these changes, and the students are still backing off because they're not quite sure if this is legit. But as the story goes on, we see that things change for Nestor. He has a change of heart, a change of mind, a change of attitude. And the teacher begins to go over to the students, and they one by one, him making amends and making friends again and doing acts of kindness and having that change of behavior. And so at the end, he does eventually wipe the slate clean to be kind to others.
What an interesting take on this issue of bullying. This is an issue that's been near and dear to my heart. I present educational magic shows across the country since 2003. The topic that 99.9% of the schools want me to address is the topic of bullying, and our understanding of bullying and our approach to it has really changed over the last couple of decades. But this is the first time I think I've spoken to an author who is creating a story that paints the bully as a sympathetic character. What was the motivation for you to do that?
I did it because I myself had experienced bullying. I, along with 2 of my sons as well, too. And I became an advocate for wanting to see change happen in a school system, especially one of the charter school systems that my young son was in. And as a result of advocating for him, they did bring about bullying policies into effect, which had not been in place when the school got started. And so I thought, why not, instead of we always hear from the victim's perspective, let's see about having it change where we hear from the bully's perspective and him having a change of heart, a change of mind, knowing that it's possible for bullies to make mistakes and they need help too, just as the victim does. Mm-hmm. So that's why I thought to do it where we flip the script and it be taught from the bully's perspective.
Yeah. And I think this is important because, our view and our understanding of this issue has changed so much. I know when schools were first reaching out to me, the idea was to, paint the bully. If you're a bully, you're a bad person and you got to stop it. And just, it's zero tolerance. And yeah, we shouldn't have any tolerance for people who are abusing others. But I think it's important to examine why it is a child or an adult is choosing to act out in this way, because I think someone might argue that, there are some people in this world who just take joy in abusing and hurting other people. But if those people exist, I got to believe they exist because something pretty terrible happened to them.
I would agree with that. And it's such that I'm thinking if we could get to the root of it while they're at a young age, and so that's why 4 to 8 year olds really trying to get to the root of it and see about changing the thought, changing the action, changing the behavior. Why not tap into them while they're younger and can get a handle on it at that age? So again, that's why I thought to address it in a children's book.
Yeah. And I think you did it in a really, clever is not quite the word, but you made a really good choice in that Nestor is learning his lesson not by having somebody preach to him, but he's learning the lesson the same way we hope our kids learn lessons, by listening to stories. So Nestor, and just like when we talk to our kids about a topic that might be difficult, we're not talking directly at that kid. We're not having that talk, that difficult talk that no one is comfortable having. Instead, we're talking about a character in a book. And we're allowing the child, and you allow Nestor to see himself in this character and come to a revelation on his own. And when you think about it, those, when we see ourselves in a certain way, and when we're able to make those revelations and discover those truths about ourselves, that's when real change can happen.
I would agree with that. Exactly. And I think for Nestor, it wasn't until, like you said, he got that revelation by hearing it being voiced by his teacher. And this is someone that he admired, that he looked up to, that he respected. So it was easy it coming from her. And she didn't do it in a way in which she was demeaning or condemning him. He saw, based on what she read to him, was like, wow, that's me. And so she didn't say anything other than the fact that she really wanted to help. And this was a way in which she was able to, with telling the story, him getting it, the revelation from the story that, wow, I can't keep doing this. Mm-hmm. That it was too painful for him to hear how upsetting it was for Jiminy to be hurting. Like, the kid's stomach would hurt at night. He couldn't sleep. He was afraid of this person that was always tormenting and chasing him. And so much so that it took him away from being at the same school with the individual. And so I really do believe that him actually putting himself in that character's shoes and being able to relate to what that individual was feeling was really something that brought about a thought of change for Nestor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So obviously this is a book that would hopefully help kids who are engaging in bullying behavior to kind of wake up and to make changes in their own lives. And we know that there are a lot of kids who are bullies in school who do engage in bullying behavior. We know there's a lot of kids who are targeted. In fact, one statistic I've seen is that every day before the pandemic and lockdown, every day there was 160,000 kids across the United States who would find some excuse to stay home because they were afraid of being bullied. But the vast majority of kids experience bullying as a spectator. They see it happening. They're not necessarily the bully. They're not necessarily the target, but they see it and they're affected by it. What do you want those kids to take away from Wipe the Slate Clean?
I want them to understand too that even though they see it, that they're able to go to an adult, go to someone in which they can reach out to and feel comfortable in saying, I saw this happening, and not feel threatened by the fact that they need to be quiet or need to be silent. Because more and more there are organizations that are out there that are saying, here are some tools, here are some resources that we can help you with so that you're able to stand up for bullying and not to be silent. So there's more organizations that are out there. I know there's stopbullying.gov. They're a great resource. There's also pacer.org, which is National Bully Prevention Center. And so they have not only the facts and statistics about what happens from a person being a bully, but being proactive. So that's why we say bullying prevention. So there are tools, there are resources that we need to get into the hands of students and teachers and educators, psychologists that's out there, and just bring up the awareness of saying that you can be proactive and a help in stomping this out. Yeah. And so it's just a matter of making the kids aware that they do have a voice in helping. And then look at it this way, because the bully is really outnumbered by more people that are not bullies than there are. Mm-hmm. And so you have a vast amount of people that are standing around as spectators that are not the bully. And you have this one bully that's trying to impact a school, a community. Mm-hmm. And that shouldn't be.
Yeah. Hey, I know, Lauretha, people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about your books. And you do have a wonderful website. Can you tell people where they can connect with you, please?
Sure. You can go to www.laurethaWardCreative.com. And there you can find freebies to supplement my book. I have activity pages. I also have a literacy lesson plan, as well as hardcover for autograph copies that are coming soon.
Awesome. We've had a really wonderful time speaking to the author of Wipe the Slate Clean, a rhyming picture book that gives us a different perspective on the issue of bullying. And we've been talking with the author, Lauretha Ward. Lauretha, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really had a good time chatting with you.
Before we invite Tara LaWall and Rich Greco to join us to celebrate this little piggy went to the market in the city, we want to invite you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Be sure to sign up for our free newsletter. Find out what's coming up on the podcast. Find out what you might have missed. Download a whole lot of great stuff. Also, please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Gently Magic on Twitter, and at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. Joining us right now from Brooklyn in New York City, New York. Really excited. We have the author and illustrator of This Little Piggy Went to the Market in the City. Please welcome to the show the author, Tara LaWall, and the illustrator, Rich Greco. Tara, Rich, welcome to the Reading With Your Kids podcast.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much.
I'm really excited to have you here. Why don't we start with you, Tara? Tell us about This Little Piggy Went to the Market in the City.
Yes. So this book is just like the original story, but set in a modern farmer's market and kind of uses jokes from modern and observations from modern farmers market. It's a children's book, but it's more of a parody as well.
Cool. What was the inspiration for the book?
So when my daughter was about 1.5, I was teaching her how to do the little piggy, like on her toes. And then she kind of took it and started making up her own words to it, which I thought was very cute. So yeah, it was really just kind of, she was the inspiration, kind of took her idea and ran with it and made it into a book.
Very cool. Now, Rich, did you know Tara before the project started?
I've known Tara quite a long time. We worked together for many years in the field of advertising. But our kids sync up in age, so now we've grown to know each other as parents, which has evolved the dynamic in a positive way, I'll say.
Yeah. You know, that is a really different dynamic. You can know somebody for a long, long time in a professional capacity or buddies on the street or whatever, but when you're parenting kids at about the same age, it really brings a relationship to a new level.
Yeah, we're buddies.
We truly see each other now for who we are.
For better or worse.
Yeah.
So what? This is fascinating because in advertising, you're telling stories, and you're telling stories to try to motivate people to buy something or to do something or to think a certain way. Did you have to change your mindset when you were both writing and illustrating? This little piggy went to the market in the city, or was it just a different kind of part of the same muscle?
Biggest change was that we weren't writing this for a client. We were sort of writing this for ourselves, which sort of changes your headspace a little bit, because we're so used to thinking about, okay, what's the client going to like? What's the client going to like? So kind of changing that to be what is the kid going to like and what's the family going to like? It just made it a lot more freeing to be able to, just be able to write entertainment and not have to also, sell a product along with it.
Yeah, and what about for you, Rich? How is that different? How did you enjoy the different dynamic in creating this piece?
Yeah, I think I work as a designer, but so I think before even developing the characters, I got into the color palette, the typography, the layouts, how we were going to build this book. So I created somewhat of a construct, but then it's a lot more freeing to be able to just illustrate various pigs over the course of 40 plus pages, I guess. And so that was fun, not having to put logos or anything that felt like we were selling. We're just enjoying the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, it's funny because you always just have that, like, oh, we got to show it to somebody. Oh, we got to show it to somebody. It's like, oh no, we have to make all the decisions this time, which is a little scary in a way too. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun just to be able to play from observations that we had at the Brooklyn farmers markets. That was really where the inspiration kind of came from. So it was fun just to sort of get to write about the things that are peculiar and wonderful about everyday life.
Yeah. Rich, life is really different in a place like Brooklyn than it is for, probably most of the country.
Yes. I think, I don't know if you could tell from my accent, but I am from Brooklyn, and I have seen it change in the past year. But ultimately, yeah, there's a nice mixture of characters that I think, when Tara and I would define one person I know from my farmer's market versus her farmer's market, I don't know, a few blocks north of me, I think these people kind of are consistent in these areas, different types of the same person. I think identifying them and finding them to be relatable, hopefully, expands beyond Brooklyn. But we really do have like this nice mix of these characters that we brought to life and disguised as pigs.
Mm-hmm. The farmers market, especially in cities, has kind of become kind of a magical, almost meeting ground for a lot of families. Do you find that, Tara?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we go to one farmers market on Saturdays and a different one on Sundays, mostly for the breakfast tacos at the one. That's a big motivator to get you out of bed. But yeah, I think it's just a really nice, like, tradition, like something to do with your family And especially in like a big city, it makes it feel very small town, which can be really cool. You see the same people, the same stands. So it has like a really, really nice community feel that I really love.
Yeah. Tell me, Rich, what you're talking about, creating a color palette, and I'm looking at your Instagram account here, and it's obvious that you spent a lot of time thinking about the colors and the type of colors to use. Can you share some advice? We have a lot of authors who listen to the show, especially a lot of self-published authors who are working with illustrators maybe on the other side of the world, who don't have this experience with design. Can maybe share a tip with them that can help them as they're in their journey?
Sure. Hopefully it's helpful. But I think I like to limit myself in the color palette so that the variations, like if you see in this book, the layouts are fairly consistent. You have your character kind of standing in the environment. So when you create consistency, then when you create these inconsistencies, like a character moving or holding something, or maybe there's a fly interacting very small in the corner, then those things kind of pop out and draw your attention more. So you create kind of this steadiness with this consistent palette or layout and even typography. And then you're allowed for you draw the eye to the places that you want the viewer to look at with these variations. So you create some kind of balance there, that juxtaposition, which I think is a lot of fun. So the limits actually allow you to do more. As far as my experience, I feel like it's an interesting kind of balance there.
It's funny too that you bring up those kind of small details. We've obviously read this book to our kids lots of times. And my daughter's favorite part is this little ant on one page that happens to just be like pointing at one of the characters. So it's, by no means any sort of major part of the story, but kids really do like kind of narrow in on those tiny details. Where's the ant this time? Where's the fly this time? And really just kind of enjoying where that draws your eye, or those little small things.
Yeah. One of the things that we really encourage families to do is take a picture walk through a book before you even sit down and start reading the text. Just walk through the book with your child, let them see the pictures, and talk about what you think the story is going to be. And then go back and read the story again. And again, it's, parents talk a lot about, this kid, this is the 5,000th time I want to read. I loved This Little Pig Went to Market in the City the first 4,099 times that I read it. But now it's like, but if you do it in a different way, and you're, in one way, when you read it, you're looking for the answer, you're looking for this. It makes it different for the kids, and I think it certainly makes it different for you. And I think it makes it more rewarding for both the kids and parents.
I love that idea. My son is obsessed with the same 3 books, and I really can't stand to look at them anymore. So I do really like the idea of trying it a couple times without the words and just seeing what he thinks.
Yeah. I'm curious now, you both have been very successful in the advertising world, and I'm sure when when the client comes back, you've worked really hard on a campaign and they love it and everybody's successful, and I don't know what the culture is in your office, pop the champagne bottle or the seltzer water, whatever. So I can imagine that, but what I'm curious is, what's the reaction now that your client, kids, families are responding to you and they're telling you that they love This Little Piggy Went to the Market in the City? How does that reaction differ from the reaction you have when a client loves your work?
It's a bit more validating in the decision-making process, having, chosen every aspect of this little narrative we've created. And so it's definitely personally rewarding. And Tara and I share a smaller bottle of champagne now, just the two of us, but it definitely feels more personal.
Yeah, there's something a little bit more like vulnerable about it too, right? Because it's like, it's our jokes, it's our pictures, like that's, we can't hide behind anything either. Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit like, if higher risk, high reward. If somebody likes it, it feels really good, and if they don't really like it, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But
you can only blame each other.
Yeah, that's Rich's fault. Yeah. That was his idea.
Well, it looks like you two are not only enjoying being parents together, but you also enjoy the fact that you're collaborating and working together. Now that this little piggy went to the market in the city is out there and families are telling you that they love it and your kids are loving it, are we going to see more projects coming from this team?
Yes. The second book is written. Rich is just illustrating it now. It's called The Little Girl Who Cried Monster. So it's the little boy who cried wolf, but with a little girl who cried monster. Very, very fun. So yeah, we're hoping to take this show on the road and keep writing and illustrating and keep this fun little, side hobby / project / whatever you want to call it that we've been doing.
That's really cool. I really love this. Hey, Rich, tell everybody, please, where they can go online to see your illustrations for this book and to learn more about This Little Piggy Went to Market in the City.
All right, here we go. This is the advertising part. So you can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, IndieBound, and you can learn more about this project and future projects on Instagram at Little Piggy Book on Instagram. So, yeah, check that out.
You nailed it, Rich.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I practiced, but
we've had a great time speaking to the team behind This Little Piggy Went to the Market in the City, the author Tara LaWall and the illustrator Rich Greco. Hey, Rich and Tara, thank you so much for being on the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Two great authors coming in. John Corey Strenger will be here, and Claire Eckerd will be here as well. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, want to start by thanking our guest, Lauretha Ward. Please be sure to check out Wipe The Slate Clean. And Tara LaWall and Rich Greco. Check out their book, This Little Piggy Went to the Market in the City. Also want to thank my team, Alejandra Doherty, Fatima Khan, Justina Thompson, Helen Frazier. Want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.